All right.
To start off today, if you could have one final feud that never happened, who would it have been with and why?
Uh, we just mentioned one, Samoa Joe. From the indie days when I first saw Samoa Joe working on Ring of Honor, I was always a big fan of Joe's style. And back then, I especially when I was working for FIP, I was telling Gabe Sapolsky, please, please book me in a program with Joe because there weren't too many big guys at that time that were big like Joe working that style. And I really knew that working with Joe would help me to elevate my game and uh, steel sharpens steel. Although at that time Joe was much better than I was, I knew that my game would rise up if I was able to work with Joe. And Gabe agreed, but the funny part was, as we discussed, he said, "Yeah, I can't invest that much time in you because you're going to get signed." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not signed. I'm a broke indie wrestler." And then not much longer after that, I showed up to FIP and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got signed." So he was right. So definitely Samoa Joe. Um, Although at this stage of my career, I don't know that we'd have that same level of match, but a young Antonio Banks, MVP, and Samoa Joe would have been a literal slobber knocker. And the other one that I always wanted to have, actually two more, um, John Cena, because you always want to work with the top guy.
Right on.
But also, I think that the promos that Cena and I would have cut against one another. Um,
Which Cena? The rapping Cena?
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Like it was always this. No, yeah, no, not ruthless aggression Cena.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
okay.
no. Cena once he started wearing the jorts,
Okay,
all
then sorry.
caps, and that was always the one. Because the promos would have been great. The matches would have been just on point. Because at that time I was having killer matches with Benoit. So matches with Cena would have been a breeze by comparison. And I don't say that in a shade way. It's just his style versus Benoit's
Right.
style. But of course, the promos would have really been getting into each other because it was easy. It it just worked. And I'm sure that he and I could have done some amazing business if back then I would have made it to that level to be elevated there. No question in my mind that Cena and I could have done some amazing work. Um, and of course, I saved the best for last. The Rock.
Oh man, I was not thinking that,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Right
Look,
on.
I'm from Miami.
Exactly.
The Rock claims Miami. He's from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, if I recall correctly. All the Rudy Poo candy. Yeah, he
Yeah.
got all that from the University of Miami.
Right on.
I grew up down there during the Schnellenberger days, and going down to Coconut Grove and and celebrating after the after the Canes would win national championships and whatnot. Rolling through Coral Gables, and so that was the whole thing. And of course, once again, the promos. I The Rock would have absolutely made me elevate my game, and I dare say I would have made him elevate his too. Because I think it would have been pretty good. And once again, the matches that we would have had would have been great. But I think people would have been tuning in just to see, like, what are these two
Yeah, what
motherfuckers
are they
going to
gonna
say to
say?
each other?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, and he's always been one of my favorites. I've always had huge respect and appreciation for The Rock. Just